Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Sean Anthony Live. I'm excited for my next guest, Mr. Dominic Dorset. He is making his debut as a professional actor, and favorite performance experiences include 2022's Broadway Backwards at the New Amsterdam Theater. He plays the violin and Gavin Creel's Walk On Through at the Metropolitan Museum of Art and the O'Neill. And I'm excited because he's here in Columbus, Ohio. He is featured in the hit Broadway musical Disney's Frozen. Dominic Dorset, welcome, man. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing well. Thanks for having me today.
It's a pleasure to have you, man. Listen, how'd you get the gig, man? What was the process like being selected in Disney's Frozen?
It all happened so quickly. I graduated from school last May, so not this past May, but the May before. And about a month after, my agent told me that they were looking to replace the previous Kristoff actor who was at the end of his contract. And so I auditioned for it. I sent in a self tape, a video audition, and the creatives liked what they saw. So I had some notes and then a callback all on Zoom. I never went into the office in person actually, but I got the part in the month of June last year. Kind of had to sit on the news. I wasn't really allowed to tell many people until August when I started rehearsals and then performances last September.
Wow, man. So that's got to be exciting, man. To know that you got a part of something very big. You know, Frozen, the movie, has just been wildly popular all over the world, man. Now you're a
Mm.
part of that fabric of that brand. When you first made the news, what were your friends and family thinking? I mean, people that didn't know. I'm sure you
Sure.
told some family.
Yeah. I told my parents. It was actually funny. I was working another contract in the state of Vermont when I booked the part, and I was trying to call my parents and tell them, but the cell service was terrible where I was. So I was like telling them this news, and they were like, "Sorry, can you say that again?" And it was just kind of funny. But when all my friends and family heard, they were really happy for me because they all know that this is something that I've aspired to do for a very long time.
Now, you recently graduated from the theater department at the University of Michigan.
Yes.
What were you know you're in Ohio, but we'll
I
talk about
know, I know.
that
I
later.
wasn't gonna bring it up. I wasn't gonna bring it up.
We'll talk about that later.
All right.
Just poking fun at you, man. But what
Yeah.
were some of the things that you just graduated? You get this part in this musical theatrical. Um, how timely is it? But what were some of the lessons that you learned at the University of Michigan that you've been able to apply in real life with this production?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I learned so much in my 4 years there. It's hard to pick out just a few things, but I would say that one thing that I did take away definitely was that the rehearsal room is the time for mistakes. And when you're becoming or coming into a production like Frozen or any production for that matter, you got to really be willing to take risks and really screw up ultimately, especially in the when you're in rehearsal. That's what that time is for. So when I got to rehearsals to start for Frozen, I was me and the director were really just open to trying new things and making mistakes because that's how I found the Kristoff that I put on stage every night and got comfortable with him. So that was definitely a valuable lesson I learned while I was at school.
Awesome. You mentioned you got to be prepared to take risks. What
Yeah.
kind of risks do you mean?
Well, I mean, there's so much more to the part than just saying the lines on the page. And you're never really going to find that unless you try something. And a lot of people get in their heads, myself included, whether this is the right choice or whether this is the wrong choice when saying a line or talking to somebody, your scene partner or whatever. But you won't know what's right and wrong unless you try it. So you got to just go for it sometimes, especially in rehearsals. Again, that is what rehearsals are for, is finding out what's right and wrong. And the larger risk you take, the more rewarding the payoff is if you get it right.
I like that. I like
Yeah.
that. What were some, like, if there's an aspiring actor out there watching or listening to this broadcast right now, what tips would you provide in the auditioning process? Because obviously, what you did, it worked, right?
Right.
What was something that you did that stood out that could be helpful to somebody else listening?
I mean, I would just say that it's you're gonna get a lot of no's. You're gonna get a lot of no's. Frozen happened to be a yes for me, but I've auditioned and gotten turned down from many other projects. So I would say, as best you can, don't be discouraged because if you stop after one or two tries and you don't get the part, then it's hard to find a place. It's hard to reach the yes. You know what I'm saying? So my advice to somebody out there would just be to really do the work, do the audition, prepare, and if it doesn't go your way, if you don't get the part, know that there are many other factors that go into deciding who gets the role. You just might not be tall enough. It might not have nothing to do with how talented you are. It just might be this character has to be like 6'4", in which case I would not get the part because I'm only 6 foot. So just know that there are lots of factors that go into deciding who gets the part. It's not always about how talented you are.
Do you go into an audition memorizing the lines, or does it matter?
Yeah, I mean, like if I have enough time, then that's always preferable because I like to perform rather than read off of a piece of paper. But sometimes in the industry, you get a call back and it's the next day, and they're like, hey, we want to see you do this whole packet. We're going to send you this packet, and we want you to do this at the callback tomorrow. And there's just no realistic way that you can memorize all these sheets for the audition. So um it's understandable, completely understandable, and most people, I would say, in my experience, have been okay if I come in and I'm like, hey, is it okay if I like use the page? They're fine with that. um so it just really depends on how much time you have.
Mhm. Now you're on a Broadway national tour, man. How exciting is that? And also, what's some of the challenges
Yeah.
on being on tour, man?
Listen, I will say from my experience, I have loved this process so far. I've loved being on tour. Everybody's got a different answer, obviously. For me, our sit downs and Frozen we're in each city for no less than 2 weeks. So we really get time to unpack our suitcases and to see the cities that we're in, and small things like we get to buy like an actual olive oil and use all of it and not just like a little thing and then have to throw the rest away because of how long we're in each city for. um so I enjoy what I'm doing right now. I will say I have big FOMO. I have a lot of fear of missing out, and I got a lot of friends in New York City who I'll see them going out, going to do this, going to this show, going to the Beyonce concert or whatever, and I'm like, oh man, it would be cool to be there with them, but that's you gotta take the highs and the lows with the job.
But shoot, man, people are coming out to see you perform in
That's true. Yeah, yeah.
production. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, like it's really nice. I love what I'm doing. Um, and there are days where I mean, I'm always happy to be here, but there are days where I see friends hanging out. I'm like, oh, it would be great to be there with them. But then I get to go do the show and, be somebody's first Broadway experience. And that's something completely magical that I'm eternally grateful for too.
So, no, this is a musical. Are you doing any singing, or are you doing a lot of singing? Like, how much
Yeah.
of is
Yeah,
are
yeah. Well, Kristoff's got three or four songs of the show that he sings in. He's got a duet with Princess Anna called "What Do You Know About Love," and then in Act Two, he's got a big kind of solo song called Kristoff's Lullaby, and it has a reprise of that later in the show as well. So I do a fair amount of singing in the show, but there's lots of music for anyone who's seen the movie. There are in fact 12 new songs that were written for this Broadway production that are not in the film. So if you've
okay?
seen the film and you think you've seen Frozen, you got to come see this version, this Broadway version, because there's a lot of new music out there that's just as good as the hits from the film.
Awesome, man. What are I mean, is how taxing is it? It's one thing to be an actor doing theater, but a singer and an actor.
Yeah.
How taxing is it on your vocals and just all around physicality?
I mean, it's exhausting. We do the show 8 times a week, and on the weekends we got two Saturday, two Sunday, and a Friday night. So we do 5 show weekends, And I'll be honest, it can be a lot. It is exhausting, but exactly what I said earlier, when you know that there's somebody out there that has never seen a Broadway show before, or you see people walk into the theater in their Elsa dresses and whatever, it's all worth it. You remind yourself that this is such an incredible experience, and um, to be a part of it is it's just amazing. It makes it all worth it.
So as before we conclude, like, is this what you want to do for the remaining of your career? Is theater, musical theater, or are you looking at television or films?
I would love to do the TV and film stuff as well. I would absolutely love to. I love musical theater is where I started, so it's always will have a special place in my heart. I'd like to move to New York City eventually. That's where I got a lot of friends, and obviously lots of that's where the industry's centered around. Um, so yeah, eventually.
Okay, cool, man. Listen, I'm very excited to see it. I haven't seen the production yet, but hopefully I'll be able to catch you guys while you are here in Columbus, Ohio.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
how does it feel to be a Wolverine in Buckeye City?
Hey, listen, man, I gotta wrap
Oh
my stuff.
no!
Yeah, no, listen, it's all right. It's all right. The people are great. I will say, I mean, listen, the people are great as long as we just don't start talking the smack. We're all fine.
I'm glad you guys are here now as opposed to November when we have to see. Yeah.
I might have had to take a couple of weeks off if we were here in November.
Listen, Dominic Dorset, man, it is a pleasure to meet you, man. Best to you in your career. And listen, whenever you come back in Columbus, please do not hesitate to hit me up, man. And stay in contact of any future projects that you got going on. I'd love for you to come on my program so we can help promote it, man.
For sure. Yeah,
How
this has
can
been great.
how can people find you, man? Where are you at on social media?
Oh, I'm on Instagram at D Nihilus, Nilaus D, which is my middle name. So it's like Dominic Nihilus D. So that's me on Instagram.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, Dominic Dorset is a performing artist currently starring as Kristoff in the Broadway national tour of Disney's Frozen. Thank you so much for sharing this with us here on Sean Anthony Live.